the shortwave radio from World War II. That's what my Papa, gave me when I was a little kid. And this thing was so cool. It was a big, black, dark green shoebox. It would remind you of a giant shoebox. And I would, late at night, get on and dial in certain frequencies and try to listen to people, listen to shows. And it's very strange, I don't get it, but at night, that's when you have the best reception. I'm sure there's some kind of explanation out there. It's like, oh yeah, at night, that's when there's the least amount of traffic in the airwaves, and so certain frequencies are clear. I don't know, I don't get it. But it was really cool just kind of doing the whole... I'm talking like that droid did on Hoth. Oh boy, I have a good bet the Empire knows we're here. Quick, what movie is that from? Empire Strikes Back. Very good. Well, this little piece of military equipment was pretty darn cool, and I had quite a collection of military regalia. Let's see, my mom's cousin, Gary Dixon, he had this poncho. I think it was from Vietnam, and this poncho, you know those statues of, it's in Washington D.C., and it's a Vietnam vet memorial, and they're wearing these ponchos. And it's really cool when it's raining because it's kind of glistening off of these bronze statues. That's the exact kind of poncho this thing was. So cool. And it was so neat. I could, it was so big that you could make almost a tent out of this thing. And I would bring it on backpacking, expeditions with my dad. And it was just so cool having this thing. I also went to thrift stores as a little kid, or rather I conned my mom into taking me to thrift stores, and I would just load up on a whole bunch of different military stuff, face paint, the grease, and I got really, really good at sneaking around. As you know, I would play capture the flag with my friends, but also would just kind of go out at night on my own and sneak through the woods. And got very used to being out where it's so dark that you held your hand up in front of your face and you couldn't see your hand. It was that dark. That's very dark, by the way. I don't know if it's been a while since you've been in darkness that is that dark. Does that make sense? But I loved my military stuff. I loved going to military surplus stores, getting big knives and weapons and all sorts of cool manly things like that. Wow. I never did actually want to go into the military. I would be very comfortable going into the military, but there's another calling in my life that God has told me to do. And that calling is not going through boot camp. Although, if you were to ask me what branch of the military I would like to be in, so whether it's Navy, Air Force, Army, Marines, Special Forces, any of those branches. By the way, what branch would you want to be in? Just thinking about it, just fantasizing, so to speak. Well, I will be honest with you. I would not want to go into the Air Force because, there's typically some pretty nerdy, smart guys in the Air Force. And that's just not me. I know some very awesome friends who are in the Air Force and they're really smart guys. But that's just not my cup of tea. The Special Forces, that intrigues me because you have to be extremely smart, but also a little off. If you've ever met someone in the Special Forces, they usually know, like, 3 languages or something ridiculous like that. But they're just insane, and they do like these ultra marathons, and they run for like 50 to 60 miles at a time. So you see what I mean? Combination between like pretty smart and also just like wacky. And those are the Special Forces guys that I am very, very proud to say that they are doing some very special missions on behalf of my country. The Navy, I wouldn't want the Navy because, well, you're floating in the middle of the ocean. Let's be honest, that's pretty boring. Some people like that. I think that's boring. Same with being in an airplane. I'd much rather see the person who's trying to kill me rather than just kind of floating up there and being like, oh, I got shot down, I'm dying. That's just not really cool. There's another reason why I wouldn't want to go to the Air Force. So all this to say that it would probably be the Army or the Marines. Probably the Marines, because I love a good challenge, and just to see if I could go and do something like that. Yeah, that's what it'd be. It'd be the Marines. Yeah, and if you doubt that, if you're like, you're too nice of a guy, Beau. You haven't seen me get angry, have you? You don't want to be on the receiving end when I get fire in my eyes. But you know what? I have a joyful countenance. I know where I'm going when I die. And so, I do not fear death.